So this is my book. All right. Finding Bonnie, it's a memoir. It's about my life, growing up in Bangor all the way to just a few years ago. I started writing it in 2017. It was very therapeutic to write it. It felt good writing it. There were some really good memories that I had that were really fun to relive them. Some not so much. We're not going to read those parts in here, but it ends up a happy story. Basically, the whole idea is that it doesn't really matter, you know, maybe what things have happened in the past. You can still live a great life and be happy and just figure it out. And we're all figuring it out. So that was the whole reason for this. And if you're if you're wondering, Bonnie was this super sweet girl that I met in basic military training. So in the Air Force, all of us young girls are shoved into this room, and it's like we're cattle and we're just kind of pushed from place to place, and most of us are scared except for the older ones that are probably laughing at us because they're thinking, I don't know why any of this bothers you. But I met Bonnie and we were best friends from the get-go. Just really, really nice person. And then, you know, when you're younger, you don't really think about keeping in touch with people. And it's not like now where everybody has cell phones and you can just put them on Facebook. So after basic military training in 1996, I lost track of Bonnie. I literally couldn't, you know, I didn't know where she was. So about 2017, I started looking for her again. I was just at a point in my life where I really, really could have used someone like her to talk to again and just to know that she was out there. So I searched and put Facebook pages out there. And one day there was this Facebook page that was for finding people that you've lost along the way. And they found her, and she was in Germany, which I didn't realize. So I texted her, which was very expensive. And we ended up reconnecting. So I actually found Bonnie, like literally later on, but it's more of it's not just about her per se, it's really about all the amazing people that have been in my life, that have made it what it is. My mom, you know, just everyone that's really just been there for me and supported me, and that's what this is about. So get another drink of water. Okay. I'm going to start in the first chapter, Small Town Girl, because we're in Bangor and you guys want to hear about Bangor. And I'm only going to read for about 15 minutes because after 30 minutes you might start falling asleep. I don't know. Okay. I can't see with the glasses. I can only see, yeah. All right. So, page 13. Growing up, money was always tight, but we managed to get by with food on the table and clothes to keep us warm. Our first home was a single wide trailer at the top of the hill owned by my grandma. There were 3 bedrooms in the back, a single bathroom next to my parents' room, followed by a kitchen, then the living room, and some sort of front room where the wood stove kept pumping out heat during the long, cold winters. Missy Mutt, the little brown dachshund, spent most of her time in the front room, and our fearless German Shepherd Bear guarded the house until he went to work with my dad. During the summers, my sister Katie and I would run barefoot through the field behind our house, which was blanketed in wild strawberries and peppered with Christmas trees. My grandpa ran a Christmas tree farm, and the whole immediate family helped. By the way, you can't pick, this is not in here, you cannot pick strawberries and put them in a bushel basket. And why is that, Mom?
You know what happens.
They would be smashed.
You don't know the backstory.
Right. Yes, if you read the next book that I'm writing, you'll get it. Okay. My grandparents had 15 children, and I wonder if it was to help on the farm or if it was because they were Catholic and birth control is not allowed. You could see how much they loved each other, so that could be why as well. I remember watching my grandpa get a wily look in his eye, and shortly thereafter he would grab my grandmother around the waist or pinch her on her bottom. She was the apple of his eye, and he was hers. I don't know if I've ever really seen that kind of love very often, and if I have, it's normally not after 15 children have become a part of the story. I was lucky to live so close to my grandma growing up. Her house was like a sanctuary. When I was about 5 years old, I ran away from home. This would have been in the single wide trailer at the top of the hill. My mom helped me pack my burgundy leather suitcase, which was half the size of my body, and she sent me down to my grandma's. When I got down there, I put on my eggshell colored nightgown covered in tiny strawberries. And I told my grandma that I was running away because I spilled the gallon of milk I insisted on carrying to the house when we got back from the store. My mom told me later on that it was a sight when all the country cats came running to lap up the milk. After a very short time of following my grandma around the house and probably getting cookies, I decided I should probably go back home. I was sent on my way back up the little dirt path lined with wild grapes, dragging my suitcase behind me to the top of the hill. I was still in my pajamas. My grandma stood at the bottom of the hill and my mom stood at the top until the handoff was complete. Strangers are everywhere, even in the country. Mind you, if strangers aren't enough, there's bears, cougars, and vicious wolverines roaming about the countryside of Bangor. I was a country girl through and through, with everything I could ever want or need. I had my sisters Katie and Becky, my grandparents, my mom and dad, and my trusty dogs. I would spend hours playing with my Barbie dolls in my closet, so entrenched in what I was doing, I didn't hear my mom calling me for several minutes from my doorway. If I had a bad dream, I would crawl into bed with my parents, and I would squeeze in right between them because it was the warmest spot. In the mornings, I would sit and watch Wonder Woman while my sisters were at school, and I would think about what I would be when I grew up. The world was perfect, and I was the luckiest little girl in it. Strange story for you readers. I vividly recall a memory of this time that involved me and Wonder Woman. I was possibly 5 years old, and I was sitting in the living room in front of the small TV watching my favorite show of all time, Wonder Woman. Who didn't have that as a favorite show? As I sat quietly on the little multicolored rug, I realized that I wasn't in my body anymore. I was floating above myself, looking down at the top of my head, wondering to myself, I wonder what I'll look like when I grow up. And that was it. Was I dreaming? Is this some strange memory that I think I have, but I really don't? I guess I'll never know. Maybe that whack to the head with the metal entry door in grade school did more damage than I thought, as if the concussion wasn't enough. By the way, I remember you waking me up in the middle of the night saying, "What's your name?" The doctors told her to do that. We had to.
And they did.
What I do know is that to this day, I believe Wonder Woman worked at our local grocery store, Harding's. The woman was a dead ringer for Linda Carter. If we haven't established it yet, I have a big imagination. I know that in reality, she was not the Wonder Woman, but she was my Wonder Woman. The benefit of being able to look back at a situation is that you can see so many things that you would have no way of understanding if you were still right there in the moment. I started having nightmares when I was about 5. Most of them were silly. A shark was swimming in our small bathroom full of water when I opened the door to go in. Apparently the glass shower door was strong enough to hold the water in. I was dying of thirst and I couldn't seem to grab the ribbed plastic orange cup hanging right above me in thin air. How could I have known that these dreams were trying to tell me something? That very soon my world would be turned upside down and that my dad would no longer be my own. It's crazy what a child will do to try to stop the looming tide of change and chaos. Did I really think my dad would stay if I handcuffed my ankles to the living room chair? Yes, I actually did this. My dad was a policeman, and he forgot his handcuffs at the house one day. I managed to find them and entrap myself until he came home to release me. Was there any way that such a small, inconspicuous girl could hold on to the best thing she could ever have? Or was this just my first introduction to harsh reality? This one goes out to Aunt Lori. My understanding of death was also dropped on me suddenly, like a bomb out of nowhere. My aunt was watching over us one night for whatever reason, and she decided we were all young, by the way, we were just kids. Well, she was old enough to watch us, but she decided it was a great idea to let me know my mom and dad were going to die one day. I don't think she expected me to go into a panic like I did, and I cried until my parents came back home. When they pulled up in the driveway, I jumped into the car with them and buried my head in my mom's shoulder, wailing that I didn't want them to die. My mousy brown hair was in tangles, and there was no doubt a good amount of sweat and snot was helping to make matters worse. My mom rocked me back and forth and told me it was going to be okay. No one was going to die, and there was nothing to worry about. My first vividly real memories that have stuck with me throughout my entire life have hinged on being torn from a perfect world and thrown into a world that ultimately always ended in death or at the very least disappointment. It's happier way at the end. We lived in our cozy little trailer until my dad left when I was about 6 and my mom remarried and had my little brother Thomas. We called him Tommy or Tom. Tommy was a sweet baby and I adored him, except for when he would get into my things. And I wasn't the baby anymore. Thanks for that. Shortly after my mom got remarried, we moved to the house down the dirt road from the trailer on the opposite side of my grandma's house. Our family owned all the lots on the right-hand side of the road from the stop sign to the top of the hill until my great aunt sold her 2 lots. My grandpa had built their single-story house in the 1940s, and my mom was born in the basement of the house while he was still working on it in 1950. When it was completed, it had to have at least 8 bedrooms. Some of them were in the basement. The walls were finished with wood paneling on the bottom, and it always felt open and airy. We would have a family reunion every year along with Easter, Thanksgiving, and Christmas celebrations, all down at my grandma's, and we would all eat and enjoy having each other around. They still do this, which is amazing.
Except now it's with Aunt.
Yep, exactly.
Except now you run it.
Yes. This seems to be a dying tradition. During these family gatherings, we would have a dining room full of traditional American food, and we would wander the halls getting patted on the head if you were little, and patting little kids on the head if you were older. I'm older, I get to do it now. My mom called it the gauntlet. If you were feeling brave, you might follow an aunt or uncle into the basement to their bedroom or the room with the pool table and hope the lights didn't go out or someone didn't try to leave you down there alone.
We all hated the basement.
I remember that no one drank alcohol at these get-togethers. Maybe they weren't of age, but I had no knowledge of alcohol until I turned 15, and one of my aunts decided to try to deter me from ever drinking it again. In case you wonder, it didn't work. And in fact, it had the opposite effect. I don't blame my aunt, she had good intentions, but I think teaching moderation in everything you do is more beneficial than trying to get you to puke your guts out. My family had a wicked sense of humor, but it was always good fun. The basement smelled like mildew, and it was always damp and cold, probably why it smelled like mildew. And I'm gonna guess that most basements do. My aunt told me recently that it still smells that way, and we had a good laugh. Grandma kept her thousands of canned goods that she would spend hours preparing so that the family always had vegetables and fruits down there for meals. Most of the time you weren't allowed to go into the basement, but every once in a while you would get asked to retrieve something or find an aunt or an uncle that might be in their room. And it was always a dreadful experience, Steve. I would slowly open the door to the basement and stare down the worn wooden stairs into the looming darkness. Maybe I was hoping someone else would go instead and time would be my friend. To find the light, you had to reach around the side of the wall until your fingers touched it, always managing to come in contact with a hopefully vacant spider web. Once you had your bearings, you shot down the stairs for the item in question, or you ran screaming the aunt and uncle's name, hoping they wouldn't jump out from a dark corner, most of the time with a loud boo-ha-ha to make it terrifying. Once you had completed your mission, you ran full speed back up the creaky staircase and switched off the light, slamming the door behind you to keep whatever creatures that were somehow too slow to capture you in their shadowy dungeon. I hated the basement, and I still do. My mom raised me, my two sisters, and our half-brother almost completely by herself. I say half-brother only because biologically he is. However, he is and always will be my brother. You can't get away, ever. Blood isn't the only thing that makes a person your family. In my younger years, I think I bonded more closely to my brother because he was just starting school when I had several years left. My oldest sister was always studying, and my middle sister was in sports. So they didn't seem to be around very much. My little brother was stuck to me like glue. It annoyed me then, but now I look back and smile, thinking about all the dorky things that we would do together. We were lucky enough to have my grandma living right down the dirt road from us because she helped a lot. I don't think a day went by that she didn't come over or that we didn't run down to her house for something. A lot of the times, she was called to referee because my mom worked and I was terrorizing my little brother. Okay, are we at 15? Whoa, wow, that went quick. I'll go just a little bit more. My dad worked as a police officer for Bangor, but for a good majority of the time, he was busy managing his stepchildren. My mom worked packing apples, giving shots to turkeys, and as a cashier at the Ridgeway Market, all run by the Stacchero family. She was on her feet from dusk till dawn. That's why she has great calves. I don't remember a lot of hanging out with my mom other than when we would all sit together in the living room and watch horror movies. To this day, I love them. Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser sound pretty horrific to some, but this was our bread and butter. I think it was just our way of relaxing and escaping the daily doldrums. We knew it was fake, but sometimes it could really get your heart beating. Okay.